Hello, I'm Adam Gordon, an edutainer here at ITProTV. I'm going to be your host for our How to Use Zoom series. In this episode, we're going to take a look at how to use the Zoom desktop app in a little more detail. I'm ready to log on to the Zoom desktop app, so I'm going to do that as we get started. I've already put my username and password in. I'm going to click sign in. Give it just a minute. I'm going to make it full screen just so we can see it easily. All right, so on the home screen, let's just zoom in here so you can see where I am. When I say the home screen, I mean using our 4 different icons up at the top in our toolbar. We can see we normally start out on the home screen. I see that I've got options that primarily on the left, these 4 big buttons, deal with setting up a meeting and perhaps launching a meeting in one form or another, scheduling it, creating a new meeting, joining an existing meeting, and or sharing my screen or some aspect of sharing my screen around a meeting. So really, when it says home screen, you'll notice here that I have a separate area for meetings as an icon that lets me do some additional things. These are really just shortcuts that are most likely activities we'd want to be engaging in and probably engaging in pretty frequently when we see them and log into the app, and that's why they're here. Now, any one of these can be clicked on. They are interactive, and some of them, a couple of them, have a pull-down option where I may be able to set some sort of box or uncheck a box to do a variety of things. As you can see, I may even be able to hover and perhaps get a pop-out menu on some things here that I may want to do around, for instance, creating a new meeting. Under sharing a screen, you'll see I have a simple option about sharing computer sounds as part of sharing it or not. And then a couple of them don't have pop-out options. They're really just interactive and clickable. Now, we're going to be bringing you separate episodes in depth, several of them actually, on how to work with various elements of the new meeting. How do I set up a meeting? How do I share my screen? All that kind of stuff. So we're not going to worry about really getting into those buttons and seeing that functionality in this episode. But I do want to point them out to you. I want to make sure you're able to see them. As we move over to the right-hand side of our home screen right here, just going to bring this up and show this to you. You'll see we do have a live kind of card or tile that shows me the day and timestamp. So you could see it's currently Monday, March 30th of 2020, roughly 10:40 a.m. in the morning. I'm on Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. right now, so you could see that. And in the version of Zoom that I am using, I'm circling around this add a calendar item right there. I'm using one of the paid versions for this episode, and because we have a business plan, we have the ability to be able to add a calendar and have it sync to show us our personal or work-related schedules here. And so what I can do from here is hover, see that it gives me the opportunity to connect a work or personal calendar. I can click on that, so let's do that. We're then going to be asked to sign in to the web portal. So don't be surprised when that happens. It takes you out, loads up the portal. It'll bring it up in whatever browser you may have on the machine. I just happen to have Edge Chromium open, so it brings it up automatically there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in, right? So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to put in my password. And I'm going to uncheck Stay Signed In, just show you that we do have other options for signing in down here, both Google and Facebook if we choose to use them. It's up to you. I'm going to sign into the portal. And when I do that, you'll see that I have an option here, or it gives me an option on this window to select a service that I want to grab my calendar from. And there are 3. Google if you're using Google Calendars, Exchange if you are using an Exchange on-premises solution for a calendar, and or Office 365 if you have Exchange Online and you're using Exchange and the calendaring capabilities associated with it through the Exchange Online or Office 365 Microsoft 365 portal. So you would make the appropriate choice here. I'm going to choose Office 365. That's what we do here at our company. And you'll notice that when we do that, we're asked to opt in for a couple of settings. Do I allow Zoom to get calendar events? Do I allow it to sync my contacts? You can opt in or out, obviously, depending on what you choose to do. We'll click Next. Then, just zoom out here so you can see where we are under Profile. Add a calendar service. It says O365 connect your shared Office 365 resource calendar or calendars. Choose a way to authorize the calendar. Authorize with either OAuth 2.0 or EWS. Just depends on what your company is using what they tell you to do. Again, you would probably need a little bit of guidance, perhaps, right, from your IT department. You would choose the appropriate one, whatever it may be. And when you do that, you'll see here, just scroll down so you can see, it'll give you a URL depending on what you choose. It says your administrator has specified this URL, so it's coming to you from the system. Click authorize if you want to do that. If you choose authorize with EWS, the Exchange Web Service is what that stands for. You would see that we need to provide some information, an account email address, an account passwords. I'd have to put in my adam@itpro.tv, my actual password to provide that credential. I would still get that URL and I would still have to authorize it, but I would be able to do that after I provide my credentials. The OAuth 2.0 version will pass through the credentials we're currently logged on as and simply provide them as part of doing that. All right, so whichever one you do, there's a process. You can obviously choose to engage there if you will. It's up to you. But if you want to add your calendar, you can certainly do that. Again, just a friendly piece of advice. Probably need to work with your IT department to make sure you have the right information to get that done. If you're a business user, if you're a student, let's say, using this because your school has onboarded with Zoom, you may or may not have this option depending on what kind of plan they signed up for. And if you have the option to add a calendar, you would need information. And chances are good, unless you're a college student, you probably wouldn't have access to that kind of information through the IT capability in the school anyway. So it's probably not too big of a deal, but just so you know. So this is the home screen. Now let's take a look at our next area. We're going to go in right here, and I want to take a look at meetings in particular, just show you quickly what some of those options are. So I'm just going to show you by just bringing the screen in close for us to see that I can click on meetings right here. And when I do that, you'll notice that we get some capability to see any upcoming versus recorded meetings. Again, we'll go into this in more detail in some upcoming episodes in our series. I do see something really important, which is called the PMI, your personal meeting ID. That's the phone number that I can give to people that's randomly and automatically generated by Zoom as I sign up and onboard and create my account. And it's based on the geography you're in, and obviously it'll look different if you're in the United States versus another country. So if you're watching us from somewhere other than the US, obviously just be aware of the fact that will look different. It'll be localized, in other words, to your region. And that number is important because you want to know where to go to get it. You can see it's also to the right in the details pane as I just move over a little bit. And you'll notice I also have the ability to start a meeting from here. I can copy a meeting invitation, edit it, set up, and show the meeting invitation using the link right down below here. I can join a meeting from a room if you're perhaps in a shared office space or working somewhere where there's conference capabilities and you have a room set up, or your IT department at the organization, the business you work for, has set up meeting rooms, and you're using those virtually to be able to connect and to use equipment and obviously use the extended capabilities of the meeting room. You may have the ability to do that. So just keep that in mind and be aware of that. We can see all that from here. All right, but the most important thing is figuring out your PMI, your personal meeting ID. And that's what that acronym stands for, excuse me. Let's move over here. I want to show you another element right up here, which is the search capability. Upper right-hand corner, little magnifying glass, right? So you know that it's a search item. Notice, by the way, the keyboard shortcut, Control and F, as in a Windows keyboard shortcut for Control F, find or search. And so we can click here, and let's say it just extends out the tab, by the way, or the bar, so you can type things in there. Let's say I want to search for a contact, or maybe somebody who's in here that I want to start a meeting with, or I want to find a piece of information. Doesn't really matter. So let's say that I want to search for Courtney, who's one of the people that works here at ITProTV, one of our directors on our production team helping us produce this series for you. You see, as I start to search, and I just have to start typing a few letters of her name, as you can see, as I search CO, and I don't narrow it down with the U, you'll see some other people that work here at ITProTV that I can find that have the letters C and O in their name. You'll notice I also can search for contact requests and find those because CO is also part of that function. And I can search in files as well for any file that might have the letters C and O. But as I start typing more letters and I narrow this down, it does pretty quickly figure out I only have one contact that is going to have a C, an O, and a U in her name. In this case, it would be Courtney. And I could grab Courtney as a contact, click on her. I see her status indicator shows she's available, so it might be good for me to do that. I could connect with her, start chatting with her, doing all sorts of stuff. And you'll see here, when I do click on her, that I'm able to essentially bring up information about her. I have a little area here off to the left where it changes the view, and I can see that I've added her as a contact. She's right there and she's active. And under recent, as I move over, I can say hi to Courtney or begin a chat with her. And if I just zoom out here, you'll see down at the bottom of the screen, I can send her a message, right? So we can say, hello, Courtney. Now, I know she's actually in a meeting right now, so she's probably not going to respond to me, but I can send her a chat. Just hit enter, and that will send it out to her. And I can see that right up here. You'll see that sets it up, tags it as me having sent it to her, and I can wait for her to reply if she does. And I have the ability here to reply. She does, I can add some sort of reaction, right? And be happy that I said hello, that kind of thing. You'll see also that I can click for some additional features and capabilities, things like starring a message, sharing it, doing all sorts of stuff. So we have a lot of capabilities associated with that search feature because it lets me create action and connect to people and do things. So don't underestimate that. You can see she just said hello right there. So she's in her meeting, but she obviously was able to do that. So you could see that when she responds, we can have a dialogue back and forth, right? All right, so I have that. What about our profile? These little squares that represent us with our initials as we have a dialogue, as you can see, give us some basic information, a little contact card as it pops out. You'll see I'm available, gives me my name, the email address. Same thing for Courtney, right? We could see information. I can chat. I can meet, right, if I want to with her, because remember, since I'm looking at her, I can launch those actions right from her card. I don't see them on my card because I wouldn't meet with myself or chat with myself. But if Courtney hovered over my card, right, so if she brought me up like I just did and looked at her card, she would see those actions. So you see those on other people's cards. So this is one way to look at an element of our profile. But there's a lot more to our profile than just that. Now, I just clicked on that little square that takes me to what's called my space, my personal space, right? Not to be confused with the early social media website called MySpace from a long time ago, a little bit different, but a personal space. This is where I can really have a workspace that's unique to me. When I click on my icon, I get to that. Everybody has their own personal space. And as I just zoom out here, you could see that I can put things in here. I can make little notes, right? Maybe, hey, remember to send Courtney that file or something, right? So let's do that. We'll say send Courtney the logo file, right? And so when I do that and I decide that I want to make a note, just hit enter, just so you can see it goes up. It's just like a chat. It just puts it in there, but I'm really just chatting with myself. This is my own personal space where I can interact with myself and do things. Most of these meeting solutions, collaboration solutions, Zoom certainly, Teams, Slack, any of the major ones have some sort of capability for you to do this kind of thing depending on how you interact on the platform. So I can make notes and send things to myself. They are going to be time-stamped and day-stamped, as you can see here today at whatever time. So I can see that that happens. And then I can go in and I can interact with them over time, just keep a running total. But that's just one small element of our profile. That's personal space. If I come up here to the upper right-hand corner where I see, again, the indicator of my initials, and I click on that, that brings up a lot more capabilities for me. And as I scroll down here, you'll see I have options like signing out, switching accounts, switching views, changing my picture if I actually want a picture as opposed to a little, oval or a circle with my initials. I can upload a picture there if I want to. So if I want to do that, let me just zoom out here so you can see that. Takes me into the web portal in my profile, lets me change right here under personal profile. And I can come over here. I can see my account number. and I can click change, and I could upload a picture if I want to, or do anything else, right? So I could put that in. Let's say I want to go grab a picture. It does tell me it has to be a JPEG and or a GIF or a PNG. It has to be smaller than 2 megabits to upload, and it has to be cropped to be my profile picture. And I can go add that. A lot of people like to do that if they're dealing with people remotely, so you have a sense of who you're talking to. I can click upload down here at the lower left-hand side, go grab that picture from, let's say, my pictures. So if I want to go grab, let's say, a picture of me, there's me right there, can grab that and upload it. Maybe crop that around my face. So get that in there so you can see me. Click save. We'll put that in. There's me. I do then have the option to change or delete if I want to. And now that I have done that, it's hard to see because it's so tiny, but you could see it changes the AG now to, my little picture. And this little micro icon, it's really hard to get a good look at who it is, but you certainly can see the person or whatever picture they decide to put in there. So I have that capability. That's pretty straightforward. I could set my presence indicators there. I also have a My Profile link directly. And again, that takes me back into the web just where I was, just to show you how those things are connected. And I can edit not just the picture, as you can see, as I already showed you, but you'll notice I can create a vanity link, a personal link that I can customize, and I can set up if I want to give people the opportunity to connect to me directly. I can see my sign-in email and link accounts like Google, like Facebook, for instance, and have the ability to do all that. I can see the user type. I am licensed. Our capacity for meetings under our license, in this case, at least 300 people. I can see the language, the time zone, things like that I am organized around, and some of these will have edit items. Others are just hard-coded from the system. And as I scroll down, I do have the calendar and contact integration. I showed you that already. I do have the password. I can edit that and make a change. My host key, which is used for me to be able to set things up and to spin up meetings, things like that. You don't normally want to mess around with that, but you could see it if you need to. And I could see that I have an ability, which is nice, by the way, if you are signed in multiple places, to sign out from all devices. So if I'm logged in as I am right now on my laptop, and maybe I'm also using Zoom on my mobile device, I have it on my phone, for instance, and I'm using it there, and I'm logged in, and I want to make sure I'm just signed out everywhere, I can actually click that. That'll log me out of everything and remove all of the active sessions. So it's nice to be able to do that if you think you may be logged in somewhere and you forgot that that is the case. So we have a lot of interesting capabilities and options within our profile. The last area I want to spend just a moment on with you here, I'm going to go back here, and underneath my icon and now my settings around myself, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go to settings. One of the other elements that's really important are keyboard shortcuts. And I showed you already that search can be toggled with Control and the letter F. But there's a whole bunch of them that you may not be familiar with. We can get to them with settings. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm just going to zoom out so we can see that come up here real nicely. This brings up all the settings for the app. And as I scroll down my list of settings here, right towards the bottom, I'll just come down here and zoom in so you could see it. You'll see keyboard shortcuts right there. And when I do that and I scroll over here, you'll see that I have a list of shortcuts that are published. In other words, Zoom has set these up for me. F6 lets me move between pop-up windows. Control-Alt-Shift lets me change focus to Zoom meeting controls, things like that. There's a whole bunch of them. And you'll see that some of them are checked off, others are not. And I can enable a global shortcut by checking it off and saying, yep, I'd like that to be available. So I've just enabled F6 and made it available for me to use in any of the systems where I might log in. And you'll notice as I scroll down here, there are quite a number of shortcuts. There's about 30 or so that are listed here. Very, very large number of them. Only 2 or 3 are turned on by default, as you can see. And Control F is there, but it's not a global shortcut. I mean, it'll work if you choose to use it and know about it, but it's not enabled to be used as a global shortcut, and I can turn that on if I want to, or turn it off, or things like that if the ones that are optional, right? As you see, I'm clicking on some, they're not changing because those are enabled automatically, and they are turned on, as you can see. And if I restore defaults, it gets rid of There we go, the one that I just enabled up top, the F6 one. Now there's also this nice little question mark here, and this is worth just a moment of our time. It says global shortcuts are keyboard shortcuts that can be used even when the Zoom app is not in focus, meaning I can turn these on and say even when Zoom is not up and running in focus, maybe it's minimized in the tray, these global shortcuts will actually apply. The app is smart enough to understand and to know that. So that's kind of nice, and we have that capability. All right, so when we're done, we can just simply close out of any of the settings areas, and we can go back to where we were. That's all the elements we wanted to show you around your profile. The most important ones. There are certainly many other things you can do and modify around settings, but the key ones that are really going to be valuable for you are what we wanted to focus on in this particular episode. I'll be back with more episodes as we continue our conversations in our series on how to use Zoom. But until then, happy Zooming. Check out the playlist for more videos on how to use Zoom, and be sure to subscribe to the ITProTV channel. I'm Adam Gordon, and thanks for watching.